If you've seen my previous video, you'll know that I recently played Pokemon Radical Red's Hardcore mode, specifically with a Hardcore mode rule set. And after struggling for a while, I came to the conclusion that the best thing to do might be to try the default mode. After all, it just seemed to be more my level, and that felt like a logical step down to give default mode a go before dropping it completely, at least for the time being. Little did I know, in playing default mode, I was going to find a bit of an archenemy. I don't know why I'm pretending it's a secret, it's not. You've read the title. It's that Team Rocket Grunt. So what makes Radical Red default mode different to Hardcore? Simple. It's an easier version of the game. Or, I suppose technically, Hardcore is a more difficult version of default mode. Trainers may have different numbers of Pokemon in their team. Typically, they'll have less Pokemon, that is. And that those Pokemon are generally easier to face. Move pools are simpler, and the levels are a little bit lower. Additionally, some of the level caps are different. For example, here is Brock in default mode, and here is Brock in Hardcore mode. In Hardcore, I faced 6 Pokemon. Brock now only has 4, where there are still some frightening parts to his team, like the Alolan Geodude's self-destruct. It's overall much more palatable than his Hardcore mode team. The 2 members that show up in both teams, that being Varoom and Archen, are both flat out stronger in his Hardcore version. The Hardcore team is more sophisticated and also operates in a sandstorm, which is not a consideration in the default mode. Going into the boss fights, like Brock, that I'd struggled with in Hardcore mode, I had a healthy dose of skepticism regarding how easily I would be able to clear those fights. But I didn't have issues. I was flying, well, mostly. There were some hiccups here and there, but for me that's still pretty smooth. Brendan is barely worth mentioning this time around. Faulkner was interesting, but pretty manageable. Brock was much nicer than previously, and Archer was interesting and occasionally slightly unfortunate. I even smoked my rival a few times. It was Misty who had me nervous, a new gym leader who had some Trichiamons such as Protean, Eviolite Frogadier, and Clodsire, because the game hates me. But before taking on Misty, I'd have to head past Nugget Bridge. For those who need a refresher, Nugget Bridge lies north of Cerulean. Once you've beaten your rival, who waits in front of the bridge, you can embark across it, and this is in any of the Gen 1 adjacent games. Once you enter the bridge, you're able to start a number of battles. It's almost like a gauntlet, but you're not like trapped in. At the end of the bridge, you've completed the challenge. Congratulations. Except you don't get the prize of the Golden Nugget, at least not immediately. The Rocket Grunt, having failed to convert you to Team Rocket alongside him, decides to ambush you. This is the man, officer. Satan. Oh, it's just a Rocket Grunt though. What could be so bad? Well, let me tell you. This man opens with a Growlithe, which doesn't seem too bad until you realise that it has Dragon Rage, a move that guarantees 40 hit points of damage for each attack, and an Eviolite so that it can hang around just a little bit longer. For most Pokemon at this level, that's a guaranteed 2-hit KO. Other members of this team include a Gabite that also has Eviolite, for some reason, and a Rocky Helmet Iron Barbs Togedemaru with U-Turn and Zippy Zap, which is a priority move that always crits, and that is something that I found out the hard way. The cherry on the cake? A 2-move Kamala with Silk Scarf that only knows Protect and Last Resort, meaning that once it's used Protect and defended itself for 1 turn, it can sweep your entire team with just Last Resort, as he did with me. The first time I encountered my mortal enemy, Mr. Nugget Bridge, Rocket Grunt, it didn't go so well. I tried to take Growlithe out quick with a Clamperl Deep Sea Tooth Bubble, but I just didn't make it. That said, the speed drop allowed me to take the kill with only 1 Dragon Rage, which was a pretty decent position. Terry the Trapinch ate a Zippy Zap from Togedemaru. I sent Night Demon, and yes, my nicknames are a little bit silly, for the switch, but a lack of Berry Proc made him a sitting duck for Gabite. I was in trouble with this Gabite's speed, but a lucky Poison Touch from Olimar was a big win. Olimar could hack 1 blow though, but not a second. Expecting Gabite to go down eventually, I knew Bulldoze was coming and hoped Terry could live. He managed to hold on, but with health so low, I wanted to save him from a dual chop and switch to Festus. He lived too, but it did take a lot of health. Gabite went down and Togedemaru came out. This one was scarier than I knew, and though Festus lived a hit, the recoil from Iron Barbs took him out. Thank you for your service, Festus, you got rid of Togedemaru for us. With just Kamala left, I was still concerned. Down to 4 Mons, which is kind of a lot, but it also feels like it's not. Nettie could do nothing on the Protect turn and live just long enough to get a Poison Jab in, but there was no Poison proc. I thought that I could maybe sack to regain momentum, but I was sorely wrong. Looking back, Olimar might have been the only chance to outspeed. The second fight went, well, I thought I could get through nicely with Shedinja, even though I sort of lost a lot of mons just before this battle. Thanks to the berry, Lego could take 2 blows before facing death, but he didn't have a strong answer. A poor switch was somehow red, but Choji was fast enough to finish the job. Togedemaru came in again, and a swap to Gabite put Sanji the Hitmonlee in an awkward position. More swapping had me struggling, and Kyle went down to an iron head. My Hitmonlee was outsped by Togedemaru, and then Tentacle faced the same fate. The others followed. My Shedinja only had physical moves, so he went down to a rough skin proc. Yeah, I beat even less mons that time. Third time had to be the charm though, right? This time, I had a water starter, which meant I had a good opener. I water pulsed my way through Growlithe, and swapped it out from Togedemaru into my Flaffy. Cydorus ate a bulldoze for breakfast, but struggled versus Dual Chop. Dragon Breath had Gabite on the ropes, but a crit sent Cydorus packing. Millie outsped with her Aqua Jet, but Kamala came in by the switch this time, which caught me slightly off guard, but Flaffy couldn't stop it anyway. With 4 mons left, it was Kamala time. Again, we missed a Screech, then got one, but as Pipes was finally ready to hit a poison jab, Togedemaru came in. It took down Riffraff, my mighty Yenna, then Gandalf straight after with the priority Zippy Zap. Millie sacrificed herself to take down the beast, but Pipes just couldn't finish the job. Kamala lived in the red, it was so close, but it was still so far. But on the 4th time, I had more options, even if I didn't realise at first that they were actually quite solid. Brian, my Sandslash, who frankly was kinda goated, made short work of Growlithe and tussled with Gabite, taking him down too. Kamala came out next, strangely. I switched on the Protect turn to give myself an out, and Binky the Cricketoon came in. He Fury cutted through Kamala and swiftly dispatched the mon that had been troubling me all that time. I had 6 mons to take on Togedemaru. 6. Kenny the Combusken jumped in. He went down to recoil, but a huge double kick took Togedemaru into range. Antoinette, my Truant Durant, which was an interesting egg to hatch, only needed 1 turn to finish the job. After I'd finally beaten the man, I took on Bugsy, and lost a lot of mons, but did clear it. Then I rinsed and repeated against Misty, at which point my box was so depleted that I decided it was likely best to stop the challenge there, in hopes of following up later down the line. In conclusion, I don't like this Grunt, and I think it'll be a minute before I revisit Radical Red. The training arc has to begin first. Let me know what games you think I could play to help me improve. For my next challenge, I'm thinking of taking on Emerald, which I was actually bashing my head against throughout the holiday season. With the better part of 15 failed runs, I lost a lot to Winona and Tantalizer. Well, thank you very much for making it this far. If you enjoyed this video at all, please subscribe to keep up to date with new uploads. Thank you very much for your time and enjoy the rest of your day.